ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Zane's View. This is RWBY Volume 4, Episode 1. I don't normally do reviews of things outside wrestling. I only do mostly wrestling reviews, and maybe I talk about certain things that kind of intrigue me or get on my nerves or make me upset. But in this case, because I have seen RWBY, I started watching it just at the end of I think I started watching around September or August of 2014, because somebody a whole bunch of people were telling Akasan, he's a reviewer of videos, anime, you name it, he's a reviewer. He is a real good reviewer, in my personal opinion, being in Japan right now. He's not Japanese, I think he's American, he's from Chicago, and he moved out there and he became a reviewer as well as doing whatever job he's doing. And one day I remember someone saying, hey, why don't you do a review of RWBY? And he didn't know what the hell that was. And I started looking around and I found out what RWBY was, and I started watching it. I saw Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. And now here's Volume 4. So I decided that I would do one review of one episode. I don't think I'll do more after this, and that's if anybody is asking or begging me to do it, which I don't think anybody will. I'll be surprised if anybody sees this. I am a novice when it comes to RWBY. Well, a novice in the sense of reviewing it. I do like it. I do have my own theories on the matter. So this review will be not a straight line review, but it will be about parts of the video that I saw on one of the sites that's now releasing it, and if it's good or not. If they did what they needed to do from Episode 12 of Volume 3 going into Volume 4 and Episode 1. Okay. When you see the beginning of RWBY, when you see the beginning of Episode 1, it's pretty lengthy before they start talking. But I'm not going to talk about the Grimm, even though I will put an image of the Grimm coming up. It's about Emerald and Mercury. They have never seen this region of Remnant before. They were in shock, and it had to take Cinder clicking her finger to call them back. Then you see Watt. Then you're going to see throughout this entire segment, after they turn from Emerald to Mercury, you're going to see Watts, you're going to see Hazel, and you're going to see, Darian, along with Salem. Now the thing that gets me is that where Salem is living, she's living over the Grimm where they basically are born. And it's very interesting to see what a lot of people that I've been hearing have theories about. How are the Grimm born? Where are the Grimm? And then you wonder, when you look at the map of Remnant, they showed on Rooster Teeth's YouTube page, one of the four, they show 4 different videos of Vale, Minstrel, Vacchio, and Atlas. And on all 4 of them, they show the basic map. And then you see a dragon in the, the left-hand upper corner of that map. You see a dragon. You wonder if that's where the Grimm are. We don't know if that is where they're from, but because of how the place looks, it's a good bet that wherever it is pretty close by. Because when it comes down to it, Remnant is a planet. So there's a good possibility if it is on the planet, it's either on that map or somewhere that the map is not showing. When you see Salem, who I have to say is pretty filled out, she's a very well-built lady. She makes sure that these guys are in check. She tells Watts, Hazel, and Darian what the hell to do. Watt is going to go off and, take over for Cinder, because Cinder got her butt handed to her. Cinder's face has been ripped up. If you saw Volume 3, Episode 12, when I got upset when Perry died, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who Perry is, watch. I'll leave a link to Rooster Teeth and the playlist of RWBY going from Volume 1 to 3. You guys can check it yourself. But when you see this, ladies and gentlemen, this will upset anybody. Seeing Perry get killed. And then RWBY shoots light out of her eyes. Kind of like what happened with Cyclops, but in an arc going from down to up. I'm not going to show an image of that. But I am going to show an image of Cinder basically before the white light completely engulfs her. And now you see her now with one eye missing on the left side of her face. and she had to talk very gently because of the injury she has. And basically, Salem already said it very clearly. You're not going anywhere. I'm going to heal you. You are now the fall mate, and you're very important. I found it very, how can I say this? Essentially, when it comes down to it, knowing that Cinder is the fall maiden, and there are weaknesses to the fall maiden's powers, you wonder what spring, summer, and winter are like. Because Darien was originally going to go after Spring, but now he's going to be going after Ruby. So you wonder what's going on. Now we'll go over to Ruby and everybody else. The fight scene for Ruby with the original members of Juniper without Pyrrha was actually very good. You see that John is still the strategist for all four of them. And that counts in Ruby. Ruby usually is the one who does all the strategy for the team when she was part of RWBY. And that's the team of RWBY. If you don't know what that is, I'm sure you guys do know. But anybody who's watching my wrestling reviews who don't normally will know what this is about, that's what it is. It's teams where it's hard to explain it. Like I said, look at the link below. Watch the series for yourself and you get a good idea what the series is about. But now that Ruby's joined the people who originally in Juniper, Ruby is now acting as a strategist like she was with her original team as a team leader. It's John. And it's obvious that John is still the leader of his original team. There are 3 members of it. Ruby joined them. And even though they may have the name, they were kind of debating about should they be called Team Ranger or Team Junior. And this is what the anime community the RWBY community, my mistake, not anime. The RWBY community has been debating for a long time. What are they going to be called? And in this case, seeing that Ren and Nora are literally debating about it before they're about to have their fight is actually it's really important for the community because this is what they've been wondering themselves. And now, after their fight, and subsequently after they went back to the town, that they were basically hired to destroy this Grimm, that basically this Grimm possessed rock and turned itself into a monster with rock. Now, if anybody's ever seen Grimm before, we've never seen a Grimm possess anything. They never possessed anything. They just go after people and kill them with the reasoning behind it is that they can feel their emotional awareness. In other words, when they get scared, they get angry, they get frustrated, the Grimm know where they are and they hunt them down. This is the first time we've seen a Grimm possess anything. And I find that very interesting. This is going to give a different dynamic to the entire show. So when it comes down to it, after they destroyed that Grimm, I can't remember the name of it, I'm sorry ladies and gentlemen, and they go into the town and they talk to, I think, the mayor of the town. The key of this entire situation, dealing with everybody in that team, is when they went to the blacksmith and you see John removing his armor because he had to get an upgrade to his armor. He was outgrowing his armor physically. He's much larger than he originally was, just like Ren is much taller. John is taller. Even Ruby and excuse me, I'm still a little sick. Ruby and Nora are larger physically. Ruby is now, in my humble opinion, she's not just now 16 years old. I believe she's almost 17 years old. Rooster Teeth has already said this is several months already into the story. There's about 6 to 8 month gap from when we saw episode 12 of season, well, not season, of volume 3 to now episode 1 of volume 4. But this is what I believe. I believe Ruby is almost 17 years old. The entire year that she was at Beacon, she had to be almost nearly 16. And with the jump, she now has hit 16, and I believe she's almost 17. Nora, Ren, John, they were all about, how old? 17 years old when they also joined Beacon. So my guess is they're all almost 19 years old. This is not a gap when they're just about to turn 18. I believe they're almost 19 years old. That's the reason why they look so mature. This is what I believe. I could be 100% wrong. You can tell me in the comments. But that's how I feel by the artwork. And this is what I think is the most important thing about the artwork, particularly what happened with John's shield and Pyrrha's headdress. Because in episode 12, volume 3, Pyrrha gets killed by Cinder, and the only thing left of her, because she completely disintegrates, is her headdress. And he had that incorporated into his shield. Also, he has a sash across his hip. His hips, not hip. I believe that could be from Pyrrha's clothing. They went back to Beacon after the Grimm was basically finished invading, and I think that he went into his old room with everybody there, and he managed to grab one of Pyrrha's own sashes that she usually wore with her armor. That's the only way he could have gotten it, because when Pyrrha disintegrated, there was nothing left of her except for the headdress. Her entire clothing, her armor, everything disintegrated with her. So my guess is that after he recovered, he ran back into Beacon. That's the academy in Vale. He went back to the room, grabbed something. Everyone had to grab something of their possessions. It had to be Ren, Nora, and John. Went back in there, managed to somehow get back in there, grabbed what they felt was important. For John, it was grabbing Pyrrha's sash. And he went to the roof after finding out what happened to Pyrrha and then got her headdress. That's what I believe might have really happened, unless I'm missing something that I didn't see it in the video where Cinder actually destroyed Pyrrha and there was some clothing left on the ground, because I didn't see it. In the end, the last scene we get is of Weiss with Klein. That is her butler. That came with her in season 1, episode 1. That was with her that day. And he said, your dad wants to see you. And I'm going to say this. I knew that Weiss is a very preppy lady. In other words, she's high maintenance, that she is basically high society, possibly of nobility. But I really didn't have a lot of interest in her. Not because she didn't have good character development. I just wasn't interested that much. But by the time of episode 10, 11, and 12 of volume 3, I thought that she had more to her. And now that she had a change in clothing, I noticed one thing about her I did like. One, she is more, what would be the right word? She's a lot more frustrated about what her life has always been about. Because she never wanted to lead down that path of going back to Atlas and just working for the company that our father had produced. But I really believe that she wants to go on a different path that leads her to maybe one of her ancestors who used to be a good warrior and fighter. And also she has some damn good legs. I'm not going to lie, out of all 4 of the women, she has the best looking legs there. Particularly with that dress. Now, we didn't see Yang and we didn't see Blake, except when we saw the opening intro. I'm not going to be doing that. And I don't want to do it right now because Yang is my favorite character. Not because she has the nicest boobs you can see. It's because her character is similar to my own and my own personality, because I've always been the type of person to help others, to care about others. I'm not a thrill seeker, but my entire premise of my life has always cared and take care of others and do whatever it takes to do that. And Yang's always done that. And that's the reason why I was drawn to her. And she's a really pretty girl with nice boobs. I had to say it. That's truthful. This is how I always talk. Sorry about that. The battery died on my camera. Essentially, this is a good episode, a good beginning for RWBY, for Nora, Ren, and John. They're now heading to Minstrel. They got new armor. They got, in a sense, a new purpose, because now Pyrrha's kind of with them. I just feel like what John did was going to boost morale of everybody there. It's not just for John. I think it helps everybody else to know that Pyrrha is not gone, because a lot of people were very hurt because she was gone. A large chunk of the community was hurt when Pyrrha was gone. Even though she's on RWBY Chibi now, I know better than anybody else. It was between Pyrrha and Yang, the one of the two that I was very, very attached to. And if there was no Yang, it would have been Pyrrha, and Pyrrha is now gone. And knowing that a part of her is still going on because of her headdress and the sash that John is wearing, I feel like it does kind of carry on, and it makes us feel kind of good. So I hope you enjoyed this review of RWBY Volume 4, Episode 1. Please give me a comment below. I probably will not do another episode unless people really want me to do it. Personally, I'm not an anime reviewer, so this would be a very rare thing if I ever do it again. But you guys tell me how you feel. Have a good day. Have a good night.